Very good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Naval Singh Todawat, Assistant Professor in the subject of Botany. Well, friends, we are studying plant physiology, and in that regards, we have gone up through various aspects of the physiology, such as the transpirations and transports, minerals, in that micronutrients which are required for the plant growth, and so on. So friends, today we are going to study the translocations of a minerals which is uptake by the plant and forwarded for the rest of the parts. So what is the translocation? It is a long distance transport of materials through xylem as well as the phloem. Xylem translocations moves the transport of absorbed water and minerals from roots and from root to leaves and water and minerals. So actually there is a ionic charge to uplift the solutes or the uh, minerals and nutrients, and due to this charge it moves towards the upwards opposite to the gravitational force. Phloem transport involves the transport of the organic food from green parts to non-green parts for consumption or respectively for the storage. So both xylem and phloem are the responsible and plays a main role and a function of the transportation. But xylem uptake the water as well as the minerals, and phloem helps to transport the organic food from green parts to the non-green parts. Translocation of photosynthetic, translocation of photoassimilates, or translocation of organic solute. It is a polar and occurs the source of a sink. So well, you see the diagram here. In this you can observe that the sources and the sinks which is assimilated, that is the carbohydrates via leaf and rest of the plant. So transportation via phloem, you can see the photosynthesis. Phloem sap from a source to sink. Source is a produce or transport out of sucrose, amino acids, and the plant hormones, which sinks organ and tissue which consumes or store the assimilations. Look out at this diagram. You can look out at the figure what type of source, that is the reflecting carbon flux towards the sucrose synthesis, and redirecting the carbon flux towards the starch synthesis well in the tuberous plant. Translocation of organic solutes, loss of water by transpiration, then absorption by root cells, upward water movement in a cellular xylem. Look out at this arrow. You can observe this arrow which is shown in the red one color, and the rest one is in the green color. Direction of translocation, you can see the upward translocation, lateral, then the downward translocation. While in the downward translocation, occurs from leaves to stems and forwarded to roots, while the food synthesized in leaves are transported to sinks in the stems as well as in the roots. So this is the downward translocations. While the food which is prepared by the leaf is transported over the downward sides. Upward translocation occurs from leaves to developing birds, flowers and fruits for consumption and storage. While in germinating seeds, store food is transported upward from cotyledons or endosperm to the growing apex. Next, transport of organic food during the appearance of a new foliage. So, during the renewal of growth on a deciduous trees in the spring. So, this is what the upward translocation. In this translocation, it is mainly purpose or the function is when leaves develops the birds, flowers and fruits in the case of germinating seeds, and in the case of the renewal growth on the deciduous trees in the springs. So radial lateral translocation, such type of translocation occurs from the cells of a pith to those of cortex and epidermis. It is common during the developing of fruits and the seeds. So this is one type of the bidirectional translocation. Bidirectional occurs near stem apices or at the growing point of stem nodes. The food received from mature leaves is transported upward to growing points for the nodes and downward to storage region or consumption region where the food is storage or where the food is consumed. So this is one type of the bidirectional translocation which is mostly seen in the plants. Pathway of translocation, look out at the there are two pathway, one of the xylem and another one of the phloem. The arrows shown in the xylem with the red color and which is tapering upwards. Water and minerals, outer cells are not living, one way only pathway, no end walls between the cells. So in this pathway of translocation, whereas in the xylem pathway of translocation, you see the one-way pathway, no end walls between the cells. But in the phloem, we observe the cells are living but not need support. Two-way movement is seen, end walls is with the sieve plates and organic molecules is also observed. Phloem translocation active and the passive. Active is the physiological process and passive is the physical process. So these are the two process in the phloem translocation, that is the active physiological process and the passive physical process. So mechanism of translocation, as we know, phloem loading and the phloem unloading. So these are the two phenomenon in the phloem translocation. So the very first, that is the phloem loading. What is the phloem loading? Initial transfers of photosynthete from leaf mesophyll to the sieve elements of a minor veins, and it is the transfer of sugars from mesophyll cells to phloem cells. It occurs against the concentration gradient, hence it involves energy expenditure. Thus it is an active process. Selective process that occurs at the source. Amino acids reducing sugars and organic ions are most usually taken up by phloem loading. So friends, this was a little short discussion on the translocation of the solutes in regards of the plants, and that we saw that there are various types of translocation, downwards, upwards, then radial, bilateral and etc. Well, we know that in the translocation, vascular tissue such as the xylem as well as the phloem, xylem do actively take part in the transport of waters, and in case of the phloem, it actively uplift the minerals and nutrients and supply to the plants. So friends, with this I stop here my talk. Rest of the parts will be going to have a talk in our next and the previous next video. Till then, you may watch this and just have a notes and points from this, and note down it. If you have any queries or questions, you may contact me, and without any hesitation you may call me. With this I finished. Thank you.